Okay, Rabbi, so we're holding here Daf Dalet on Beis, today's Amud, over here in Chatzer Strauss, in the main Beis Medrash in Nesivos Ahron. We're just finish up the bottom line of Yudal with Amud HaYomi. The halacha is like a Yehuda to Omar. Bein Elokeichem le'emes v'yatziv lo yafsik. That is not a separate parsha. In other words, halacha, although it's a different part, it's the parsha Hashem Elokeichem is the end of the parsha Veidaber, but we put it together with that which Chazal were metakin v'yatziv and nochayin, and we explain why. We see that the Torah puts together the emes with Hashem, with Elokim, so therefore it's important to say Hashem Elokeichem and to continue emes. So they are connected, and therefore they must remain to get connected. Now there was a question: so what is the correct way to proceed after you've said that? So do you go ahead and then say again, as you say Hashem Elokeichem emes, and then you say emes v'yatziv, or you don't choizer emes. Emes. So here's machlekes. Yes, so he says you do, and Rabbi says choizer emes. If you said it already, Hashem Elokeichem emes, so proceed. You don't have to say. You don't have to say, right? So, what do we do? So the Gemara says, "Who the nochis kamei the rabba shami the rabba the omra emes." He says, "Why are you repeating the word emes? What's going on? Omra call emes tafsile. Something wrong. Keep saying emes. Omra Rabbi Yosef. Kama Malya Hashmaitza." Okay, what's it? I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. So that was the discussion. We didn't come out so clear. That's what he did there. But okay, now we're going to see Rabbi Yosef. Kama Malya Hashmaitza. This is a great idea here. This Shmaitza that we're going to learn from the Yerushalmi. Again, Rabbi said we're on the top of Yudal on Beis. We're at the words Amud Rabbi Yosef. It's about 5 lines down, the middle of the Gemara. Amud Rabbi Yosef Kama Malya Hai Shmaitza. The Kiyasa, which one? The Kiyasa of Shmuel Bar Yehuda. Amri b'Marava. They said it in Eretz Yisrael. And by Arvis, when we daven Mariv, so the way to do it is you say Daber al Bnei Yisrael Amarta Aleim. Right? We say the pasuk. We say the parsha of Vaydaber, right? Sulam tzitzis, but they would skip. They would say they wanted to get cut right to the Hashem Elokeichem emes. Daber is Amarta Ani Hashem Elokeichem emes. They want to get the emes. They want to get the Hashem Elokeichem and put it with emes, like we spoke about. So that was the solution to the problem. They start the parsha, and then they skip to because we don't believe. Obviously, the assumption is we don't need to say Yitzias Mitzrayim here right now. It's not necessary at night, and we just want to cut to the Shemon Geras. Amalei Abai Mai Malyasa. So Abai says, "It's a kasha Mai Malyasa." What's so smart about that? V'Omer of Khan didn't Rav Khan tell us Rav Lo Yaskil that you should not do that. Dafki said, "Don't do that." Now, if once you start. So you don't need to say Yitzias Mitzrayim. We're assuming like that. But so don't start and not finish. If you do start, finish. Once you start saying it, it's inappropriate not to finish. Is not called Haskalah. That's not really that's not the essence of the parsha. And then V'amarta Aleim. V'hamar Shmuel Bar Yitzchak. Daber el Bnei Yisrael, right? Love eskola. V'amarta aleim. Have eskola. No. If you just said Daber el Bnei Yisrael, okay, if you held it there, that's like, irrelevant to what we're saying. It's not that's not called starting the parsha. But Marta aleim, yeah, that's starting the parsha. Next, once you go proceed with the next pasuk, that's starting. So what's so great about this pshat? What are they doing in Marava? Omer Apapa Kasavri, they hold, the Marava holds, Vamarta Leim, Nami Lovi Aschol. They disagree. It's not a scholar. They argue that point. When is it? What would be the starting? That's when you really go into the topic, the parasha of Asulahem Tzitzis. Okay, therefore, the bottom line is as follows: so now we have a tradition that we continue what they did in Marava. There's obviously, because it is important to get to the end, so we do start. But now we have a problem though. Once we do start it, we say that we have a rule, we must finish. Now we just explain what is that rule to finish. There's a rule, you have to finish. Once you start, you got to finish. So it's kind of a little bit of a contradiction. It's a little bit of a, we don't start. We hold not to start. But we do start because they started. And they start and skip. But once we start, we believe the right thing is to finish. So we start. We do what they did because they did it, but we don't do what they did because we need to finish. So that creates our meaning. We say it at night also, Vaydaber, and we finish it. Zok the Gemara, Chia barav Amar Ani Hashem Elokeichem, Tzarech Loimer. You do need to say Ani Hashem Elokeichem. This is Amar Ani Hashem Elokeichem. So once you complete the paragraph and you say Ani Hashem Elokeichem, you must continue emes. As we mentioned before, it's like emes is somewhat, even though it's a separate davening. Really the parsha ends Ani Hashem Elokeichem. But since we saw the concept of emes is connected with Elokim, you must complete it with emes, Rabbi Yisrael. Tzarech Loimer emes. But if you didn't say Hashem Elokeichem, you never said the end of the parsha, and Tzarech Loimer emes. Now, Frektim Akasha, what is his business? Don't you need to say Yetzias Mitzrayim at night also? Didn't we come out like that? It was machlokes, but we chayshish. You should say Yetzias Mitzrayim b'leilos. I believe that's the assumption of the Gemara. So what's going on? Why are you not saying? You should say the whole parsha. Why are you skipping the parsha of Yetzias Mitzrayim? So the more answers, there's another solution. There's a way of doing it. Or also, furthermore, and what are you skipping? When it says you don't say emes, if you didn't say Shem Lekech, you don't say emes. That means the whole emes v'yatziv v'nochain. You're not saying. You're taking out that whole paragraph, which mentions Yetzias Mitzrayim. So you're skipping the whole thing. So where's your Yetzias? So where is your Zeichel Yetzias Mitzrayim at night? Or I should say that maybe this is not at night. This is even during the day. It could be I'm wrong. It could be this is. No, I think it's at night. Yeah, talking about night. She says it's not. She says beleilos. Yeah, it's emes v'emuna, right? It's not emes v'yatziv. We're talking about emes v'emuna, and we're saying you're skipping emes v'emuna because it's at night. So what's with the mentioning Mitzrayim? So he says, the answer is as follows. There's a way of saying it without the whole takon of Chazal. There's a short version. So you say this nusach, and you're yoitza. Rashi explains a little bit exactly which part you say. You say this, you add on parts. But you mention a brief version of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now we have, this is important. What is the order? How do we get to this order of Kriya Shema? We say Shema, V'hafta, okay, obviously Shema V'hafta, that's one parsha, we say. V'hoim Shemoya is another parsha. And Vayomer is a third. So why is it this order? So Lama Kid, or really more specifically, Lama Kidma Parsha Shema. Why is it first Shema and then V'hoim Shemoya? Maybe we could say V'hoim Shemoya and then Shema. Tanya b'Shem Chayomi b'Dinu Shiyakim Shema V'hoim Shemoya. So there's a logic to it. Interesting enough, it's logic. Shezel lilmoid v'zel lamed. So Shema is, we say there also, in the Shema means V'hafta. That we speak about lilmoid. Why is that lilmoid? So, she said lilmoid because v'dibar tabam. When the Torah said, when you say there that Hashem commands us, you should speak. That means we should learn Torah. That's part of the commandments in the parsha of Vehafta. And Vayom Shemoya is about teaching, lamed. So the Gemara is going to go into which psukim tell when in a second. We'll see. And Vayom Shemoya Vayomer. And then if we say then Vayomer, because Shazel Lil Moed, Vizel Lasois, Sulam Tzitzis. You put on tzitzis. That's already what you're supposed to do. It's not talking about what you're supposed to learn or teach. That's what you do. Now we're going to analyze this assumption. Atu Shema Lamed Ispe. Sorry, Lil Moed Ispe. Lamed Velasos Lespe. You tell me that's not in part of Shema. What do you mean? Vishinantam, Vaksiv, Vishinantam, Ukshartam, Uksaftam, that's all in Vahafta. So everything is included. What are these distinctions you're making? For two, in Yan Shemoya also, it's Dafka Lalamed Dislebe, Velasus Lespe, he says Ukshartam, Uksaftam, it's also not, it's also includes everything. Elachigam, Bedinu should Taktim Shemalim Shemoya, she said Lilmoid Lamed, Velasus. So Shema starts with the process of Lilmoid, Lamed, Lases. So he starts from Shemoya, Vayomer Shezebo Shezeshba Lilamed Vilases. Vayomer Ein Ba Ela Lilases. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much like we said. Good. In other words, we start from the more comprehensive of Shema after, and then we go down to we have in Shemoya with the next process of focuses on teaching and then to do. Why are you coming on to new reasons? Remember Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha that said he gave a reason. Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha said that it's Kabbalah Al Malchus Shemayim, right? So the one says Kabbalah Malchus Shemayim. Yes, number one is like Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha. That's Kabbalah's Al Malchus Shemayim. Tchila. Achar kach Kabbalah of all mitzvahs. Furthermore, because also of the other advantages of the subject of the paragraphs. Okay, a little more here. The Gemara says a story. I hope you have to pay attention. Okay, it's just one story, and we're going to analyze the story with one or two contradictions and try to come out with halacha over here. This is very relevant to halacha. The story goes as follows: Rav got up in the morning, great Rav. Now, first thing obviously he did is Moshe Yoda, who washed his hands. That's obviously, get up in the morning, you need to wash your hands to remove tuma, and then the Gemara says it's very dangerous if you don't wash your hands. It's a sakana, causes bad things to the mind if you don't wash your hands. So you must wash your hands. Moshe Yoda. Okay, now what do you do? So what does he do? Kara Kriya Shema. Interesting. First thing he does is say Kriya Shema. Second thing he does is Anach Tefillin. Third thing he does is Tzoli. He davens. Matzli. Frekti Gemara, we're going to, now that's what Rav did. That was the Maisa. Now, so we're going to say, let's learn the Brisa. Brisa goes as follows. Brisa is talking about a person is doing the mitzvah, mace mitzvah. He's doing a kvura for a mace, which is a mitzvah. And it's early in the morning, and he has a Kriya Shema. It's not Kriya Shema, but they're oisik mitzvah. So what do you do? So there's a whole discussion exactly. So Ha'chayfer kuch l'meis. He's digging a kuch, a grave, in a cave, l'meis, kever. Potter b'Kriya Shema. So oisik mitzvah, potter b'mitzvah. When it's tefillah is potter from all mitzvahs to Kol Torah. We're going to get this as a topic coming up in the third parak. He gives one Kriya Shema. Now, the problem is it's time to say Kriya Shema. So oilav and noitel yadav maniach tefillin v'kari Kriya Shema u'spala. Now, the Gemara just analyzes Gufa Kasha for what he's saying. The Reishi said Potter, and then he's saying, well, it's Kriya Shema, Halakasha. It depends on availability, if it's possible. Seifa, that which it says, you say Kriya Shema, and that's when there's someone else with you who can continue the mitzvah while you go say Kriya Shema, betray. the Reisha is only when there's one person by himself, then he cannot leave the mace and go, okay, so we must complete the mitzvah. Okay, fine. Mikomakom, kasha the Rav. Now, but still, so let's hear what it says here. It says over here, what would you think? That's what you think to do. You put on your tefillin, maniach tefillin, and then you read Kriya Shema. So what comes first? Kriya Shema or tefillin? That's the question. So here I have a contradiction between Rav and the Brisa. Brisa says Kriya Shema. Tefillin comes first, as we would think, as we do. Kasha the Rav. So the Gemara now, Rav, Rabbi Shimon Kochas Vilna. The same way that Rabbi Shimon Kochas says that we do, the order of the psukim is because of Ol Malchus Shamayim. I must first accept it by myself, Ol Malchus Shamayim, and then I'll do mitzvahs. So that's the logic we're saying over here also. So therefore, say Kriya Shema, Mekabel Hashem, Hashem Echad. And then you could put on tefillin, do the mitzvah. Zok the Gemara, how do you compare the two things? That's a rule in what you read first. That might be true. Last says, but to actually wear the tefillin first before you say the Kriya Shema, who says that that's not appropriate? Mishamis for two. Okay, now there's another question. How do we know that we go with his pshat at all? In fact, now here's the whole story again. Another story of Rav, where he actually didn't do that. He actually did it the way we would think. He washed his hands. Taka gave a shiur. And then he was monach tefillin, and then Kriya Shema. So he put on tefillin first. I'm learning it that way. It's a little bit, there's a slightly another way to learn the question. I think I'm learning the simpler way. Kriya Shema. So it's not a kasha. Otherwise, also it's a steer to Rav. Right? So maybe the whole story beforehand, where Rav. I'm sorry. Maybe the story now, where Rav put the tefillin on first, is because it's too early to say Kriya Shema. So what are you giving me these stories? Is a very particular case why he did it this way. He put on tefillin first. And he said Kriya Shema. You can't say Kriya Shema yet. So if you could say Kriya Shema, you say Kriya Shema first, maybe. So it's a little bit hard. How can you say how's tefillin before? But it could be maybe tefillin. Possibly tefillin would be at, we said Kadesh Yakar. We learned the Daf Tes Amud Beis. That's Zman tefillin. Zman Kriya Shema. We said over there is maybe in fact later by Nates. So that's the question. So the Gemara says no. So maybe we can answer that. Maybe really it's true. And why it wasn't yet Kriya Shema? And why did he give this whole testimony? Why did Rabbi Chia Bar Ashi give this testimony? He was more excited about the part of the story. There's another part of the story here, is that he actually gave the shiur right away. He gave the shiur, but if you look at the story, Moshi. Muvare, yeah. If you listen, the story was he was Moshi Yodeh, and he made Birkas HaTorah, and then Maslam Pirkin. So there's a parenthetical point over here that you see that even if you're teaching Pirkin is the Mishnah, you do make Birkas HaTorah Mishnah. Now we had, if you remember, we had in Yud Aleph on the base, we had a discussion. That's true. So, but yes, you do make. So he was happy, but he wasn't necessarily coming to make the reason that maybe it was the reason why Rav Taka said Kriya Shema tefillin first, because it was too early for Kriya Shema. So it's not a raya. Fukiman the Mishnah Tzarech Levarach. Kamash Malan Daf the Mishnah Nami Tzarech Levarach. Okay, now. Okay, so we can reconcile those two prices. We come kasha the Rav, but still, if you remember before, we had a kasha and Rav. We said what? But still, what is his business of why would you? Why is it? I'm explaining a certain way. I think it's a little bit simpler in pshat, but we'll go this way. Why is it that Rav? We were going back to the original question. Why in the world? What makes sense to say Kriya Shema first, Or put tefillin on first. You put tefillin on. We put tefillin on first. So why is Rav doing this? Well, what's the pshat? We said the order should be mekabel. The order should be. We don't believe that that Yeshuv and Korcha is a correct application in the case of Rav. So what's going on? So Moshe says you're right. It's not a raya from there. Rav shluchu da'aviz. It's also was a whole story over there. Why did Rav say kriyash before his tefillin? A technical reason. You know why? Because he forgot his tefillin. Or whatever, he was too weak to get his tefillin, and he had to send the shliach, and he's waiting for the shliach. Where is the shliach? So he said, you know what, I'm saying Kriya Shema. If it's late, you have to say Kriya Shema. Okay.